Why is RoboCop 3 trash? Spoilers. So RoboCop came out and everybody loved it. RoboCop 2 came out and everyone's kind of like, no, it's not too bad, it's not too bad. And then RoboCop 3 came out and everyone kind of collectively decided it's the worst thing ever. It was so badly received that I think I heard somebody say that they'd rather watch Citizen Kane. Seriously, Citizen Kane. And you'd think after being so badly received that the filmmakers might want to try going back to RoboCop's roots and going back to what made it so good in the first place. We don't do that here. As if it was some kind of YouTube challenge, they went on to make a series of abysmal TV shows, cartoons, and a remake that was so terrible. I think I heard somebody say that they'd rather watch RoboCop 3. Seriously, RoboCop 3. But here's the thing, RoboCop 3 shouldn't be a bad film. I mean, it's written by Frank Miller, who, okay, granted, he did Elektra, but he did some decent comic books, so he's at least somewhat semi-competent, right? And it's directed by Fred Dekker, who apparently was never allowed to direct again after this? Really? He was that bad? So when I first saw RoboCop 3, I did not realize that RoboCop was not played by Peter Weller. Mainly because dude wears a helmet throughout most of the movie, and when he does take it off, I mean, he does kind of look the same. In any case, anytime your main star doesn't return for the sequel, probably not a good sign, so maybe this movie was doomed from the start. Anyway, let's talk about RoboCop 3. So the movie starts off by letting us know that OCP was bought over by a Japanese company, the Kanemitsu Corporation. Detroit is still a crime-ridden, poverty-stricken 8 Mile. It's 8 Mile, but without Eminem. They show a family watching the news and they have a child. Now, it's not really clear, but I think the child's name is Stupid Kid.
Stupid Kid?
Stupid Kid?
And I think maybe Nico is her nickname. Now, Stupid Kid's dad tells her that they're safe in their home, and that's when a riot breaks out.
So that was a fucking lie.
He gets killed later. Obviously deserved it. Anyway, after the riot, Stupid Kid gets kidnapped by Bertha and her band of rebel scum. They then break into a police armory with a child, and then let that child run towards an Edge 209 robot guard. Now we, the audience, know that Stupid Kid might be some kind of computer genius, but they don't. They literally just stole a child and then let her play with a deadly machine. These are not good people. And to think, Bertha became a police detective after this. I mean, how does that even... Actually, yeah.
Fuck the police!
And by the way, if this is the future, why does Ed 209 still use parallel cable ports? Oh, and let's not pretend that Stupid Kid is just some innocent little child. She legit tries to murder a bunch of cops, which, actually, yeah.
Fuck the police!
Now this is where RoboCop enters the story. Sorta. It's really where Lewis enters the story. All the cops are hanging out at this donut joint, and apparently they take turns in doing actual police work. By the way, I just want to make an irrelevant side note. Ann Lewis's hair goes from cool 80s chick to soccer mom to 8 weeks in lockdown in the space of 3 movies. So Lewis is chasing Big Bertha and her bitches. But because this is set in a place where apparently people don't know that even if the lights are green, you do not move your car if there are police sirens. So yeah, there's a crash. The rebels celebrate the mayhem they just caused with Stupid Kid, who's clearly just a psycho at this point. But turns out, RoboCop is still on the rebels' tail. However, Lewis needs help because, early 90s damsel in distress. Turns out that Lewis crashed into the crackhead gang territory, so RoboCop turns around, drives his car off the top of a multi-story car park, shoots a hole in the roof, and then fires randomly at splatterpunks. So now we got some slimy sleazeball from OCP who doesn't like that RoboCop disobeyed an order and wants Dr. Lazarus to delete his emotions so they could control him better. Which, to be fair, RoboCop is their property. I mean, Murphy signed a release form when he joined the force, he's legally dead. They could do pretty much what they want with him. By the way, this movie is so 1993 because sleazeball refers to Dr. Lazarus as Babe, Sweet Cheeks, Dollface. Later she gets called Stupid Slag, and Officer Lewis gets called Broad at least twice. If this movie was made today, it'd be cancelled on Twitter. Anyway, RoboCop goes looking for Stupid Kid because maybe she reminds him of his son? It's not really made clear what's so special about Stupid Kid. You know, RoboCop is part human, so maybe he's got some deep-rooted pedophile tendencies, I don't know. But Lewis goes with him and ends up getting shot to death by OCP's rehab team. It's supposed to be sad, and it kind of is, but she did knowingly leave her body armor behind and then follow the malfunctioning robot to go look for a rebel gang that's already tried twice to kill police officers, so...
Fuck the police!
RoboCop is hanging out with the rebels now. He's badly damaged and he needs Dr. Dollface to come fix him. She does, and then the rebels go to war with the rehabs. By the way, they find Dr. Sweetcheeks by sending Stupid Kid into a busy police station, unattended, and just wanders casually into what should be a far more secure area of the building, so...
Fuck the police!
Now let's talk about OCP for a little bit. So OCP is no longer run by the old man. Instead, Rip Torn is in charge, except he isn't because OCP is owned by the Kanemitsu Corporation. So apparently Dan O'Herlihy, who plays the old man in RoboCop 1 and 2, didn't want to do RoboCop 3 because he felt the writing was weak. You know, when people who know what they're talking about are giving advice, pay attention. So OCP set up the rehab team led by Paul McDaggett to sort out Detroit, which really means kill homeless and poor people, so you know.
Fuck the police!
So the rehabs went to kill the rebels at the church, but RoboCop and Lewis stood in their way, and that's when Lewis gets killed by the rehabs, but they blame Lewis's death on RoboCop. So when RoboCop defects and joins the rebels, it makes OCP look bad and they end up losing money. One guy jumps out the window and Sleazeball gets fired and then shoots himself. I mean, they could have just applied for other jobs, but... So then Kanemitsu sends in their Japanese robots to find the rebels. Now there's a scene where the Japanese robot kills 2 of the rebel boys and then holds up a third. And the third rebel guy says, "So, you want to know where the rebels are, huh?" Thing is, at this point, the robot has not said a word. And had the rebel not said anything, the robot might not have known that they were even with the rebels. And why is this dude carrying around a map leading back to the rebel base with him? So while all that is going on, it turns out that the rebels have a rat, Kuntz, which is about as close to cunt as you can get and still maintain a 12 rating. Anyway, Kuntz has been slipping information to McDaggett the whole time. RoboCop finds out, but both Kuntz and McDaggett escaped the whorehouse. Now, RoboCop knew that McDaggett was at a whorehouse because the rehab guy at the police station told him, but McDaggett was in the whorehouse because Kuntz told him that RoboCop was going to the police station. So didn't anyone think it odd that all of a sudden McDaggett wants to go to a whorehouse and only take a few rehab guys with him? I mean, how do you even have that conversation with your staff? Then again, it is Detroit. People go to whorehouses like Starbucks. Kuntz leads the rehabs to the rebel base where Bertha gets killed in a shootout. And by the way, Bertha has the best death scene you will ever see in a movie. The rest of the rebels escape together, but Dr. Lazarus gets captured and Stupid Kid escapes by herself. The rehabs try to recruit the police to help them fight against the rebels, but Sergeant Reed is like,
Fuck the police!
Turns in his badge, leaves, and then all the other cops do the same. So instead, the rehabs recruit the Crackhead gang to help them fight against the rebels. So now you have the rehabs and the Crackheads. Wait a minute. Rehabs teaming up with Crackheads? It's the rehabs and the Crackheads versus the rebels. The police decide to join the rebels and Sergeant Reed deputizes them under the Detroit Police Department, the same police department he just left, so really has no authority to deputize anyone. The rehabs are winning the battle, but RoboCop comes in to save the day, everybody celebrates, except this guy. This is the type of thing that extras do when they want to make sure their face is on camera, but don't know which camera is filming. RoboCop has a showdown with McDaggett and 2 more Japanese robots, and then Rip Torn abandons OCP. Now the Japanese robots get hacked by Stupid Kid, and then they cut each other's heads off. Turns out that they're set to self-destruct when they take damage like that. Anyway, RoboCop escapes with Stupid Kid and Dr. Babe, while McDaggett gets blown inside the OCP building. The film ends with Kanemitsu bowing to RoboCop, as if that makes up for all the death he's responsible for. I mean, this guy's greed and arrogance killed dozens, if not hundreds of people, and he thinks bowing to a robot is going to somehow absolve him of all his crimes. I mean, get the f. And then RoboCop tells Rip Torn that his friends call him Murphy, but you call him RoboCop. Alright, now before we get into this, since nobody liked RoboCop 3, here's some other terrible sequels you might want to check out. Watch at your own risk. In fact, let me know in the comments what your favorite rubbish sequel is. So RoboCop 3 has multiple flaws. Multiple. This movie has more flaws than IKEA. For example, the massive waste of bullets, like so many shots fired, very few people actually get hit. And a lot of the shots are so pointless, like RoboCop shooting a hole in his roof when he could have just opened a door, or RoboCop shooting a RoboCop-sized hole in the door when he could have just opened the door. Plus other things don't make sense, like RoboCop's programming prevents him from opposing a member of OCP, which is why he couldn't shoot McDagger and he shoots the truck behind him, which surely still counts as opposing a member of OCP. But as much as this film does wrong, it does a few things right, and I don't think it's as trash as everyone makes it out to be. The film has a running theme of family and how your family doesn't have to be related to you. The rebels are a family unit, Stupid Kid loses her family, RoboCop has already lost his family, and Lois talks about having a brother that never calls her, although she could call him. Just saying. But they all find each other, and even Dr. Lazarus, who is seemingly alone, finds family with the rebels, and in particular Stupid Kid. Also, Sergeant Reed, when he was asked to join the rehabs, he refused because he didn't want his family to see him as a man destroying other families. And at the end, when RoboCop says, "My friends call me Murphy, you call me RoboCop," it's setting a clear distinction between who he considers close to him and who he does not. Now, how many of us can honestly say that we set clear boundaries with people? Oftentimes we let people treat us however they want because we're afraid of maybe losing a job or losing some kind of social status if we don't play along. Sleazeball allowed himself to be defined by the company he worked at to the point where all he cared about was impressing his boss, which in turn meant that he was disrespectful and uncaring to the people around him. And when he got fired, he killed himself because in that moment he realized it was all for nothing. So for me, I feel like the general message of this movie is stay out of trouble and to know yourself. Murphy lost a lot of his memory but held on to the very thing that made him human, and from there he was able to fight against his programming or the system when the system was wrong. And if you're now getting a feeling of, hey, is this connected to how certain governments use tactics to oppress people and create systems that make it near impossible for those people to break out of? Yeah. For me, I feel like RoboCop 3 is a film about family, unity, community, and rising up against oppression. Even if you have benefited from that system, it is your duty as a human to stand against it. RoboCop effectively was created by that system. They gave him all these weapons and all the tools that he has, but he knew what they were doing was wrong and had to stand against it, even though that meant that he was then ostracized and blamed for crimes he didn't commit. Because in the end, we either stand together or we don't stand at all. So yeah, RoboCop 3, maybe not as bad as you remember, maybe worth watching again to see if your opinion has changed. Maybe. And that is what I think of RoboCop 3. What do you think? I like it! Or can you fly, Bobby? Let me know down below, and if you like this video, give it a like and share it amongst your friends. If you did not like it, then give it a dislike and share it amongst your enemies. You can check out more videos, follow me around the web, subscribe, but that is all for now. So until whenever, if ever, your move, creep.